Okay, so I wanted to do a video basically on brown skinned women. The video is going to be about brown skinned women and light brown skinned women like myself. So, I wanted to talk about first colorism crybabies and how basically with colorism people are split into light versus dark skinned. And with colorism crybabies, they try to claim the brown skinned woman. Women like this, that are a little bit lighter than dark skinned people, but a lot darker than light skinned people or anything associated with dark skinned people. They try to claim these women, but only if the woman speaks on their behalf, says everything they want, and basically has their talking points, their experience. That's the only way they take them seriously, and they don't attack them specifically. I know some people have claimed that those type of women are never accepted by dark-skinned women, but I think when it comes to colors and crybabies, they're not accepted if they don't speak exactly how the dark-skinned woman wants. If she's not saying that colorism exists, or if she's acknowledging light-skinned women have a struggle too, they get very much they get much more insecure and upset, and basically try to make a brown skinned woman feel inferior about her complexion, make her gaslight her, basically, make her second guess herself, things of that nature. So I feel like with brown skinned women, that colorism crybabies basically use brown skinned women, or they basically trash brown skinned women. That's the only use people find in brown skinned women, is using them, basically. Now, the same can be said for a light brown skinned woman, like this. Many of the time, a lot of the platforms that are for light skinned women have a good backing in women who are yellow bones. They are yellow. They're not light brown like this. They are actually yellow in complexion. And many of the time they'll include the caramel complected women. But the way they include us is only if we basically speak the way they want at that time. We have to say everything that they believe. You see, for me, for my personal experience, I've had it where, like I've said before plenty of times, I've been on light skin channels, and they would be okay with me being there until I said something that they didn't agree with. Then it's all about, oh, we're not the same and all this stuff. And, they're basically being more hateful towards you, almost as if you are dark skinned yourself. Just the same way a colorism crybaby will come at a brown skinned woman and try and act like she's not dark skinned anymore, and almost treat her like she's light skinned and like she's a part of the preference so called thing. And, she's trying to get her privilege over them. And same thing here, they'll just act like, you're one of the colorism crybabies who is basically, trying to hate on light skinned women. And that's the thing. Nobody really is comfortable with brown skinned women talking about colorism from their own perspective. They can only speak on the perspective of either a dark skinned woman or a light skinned woman. But you can't actually just talk about your perspective as yourself. You know, I don't have anything against dark skinned people. I don't. I've always promoted dark skinned women. I think they're beautiful and ideal. But honestly, as a light brown skinned woman, anytime I come on the colorism crybaby side, they always is either treat me like I'm one of the light skinned girls, or they either will do the whole bleaching thing, one or the other. But you never are included with dark skinned people if you're light brown like me. You just never are. It never works, really. You know. But, you know, as a person who doesn't identify, like since I was 3 or 2, one of those ages, I've always identified in the middle. Like, I had a cousin, and this is the thing, my mother, before me, would babysit her nephews who were very light skinned. And this probably had an effect on me because I grew up with dark skinned older family members like my mother, her siblings, and things of that nature. But I also grew up with my cousins who were very light skinned. Like, one was white passing and the other one was very, very light yellow, you know. And so, from my perspective, it's like a light yellow or white skin to light brown skin to dark skin. A light brown skinned person is right in the middle. No, we're not right in the middle to the very dark skinned people, but it's more so like compare me to a Brandy or compare me to a Kelly Rowland. That's right in the middle. Kelly Rowland and light skin, that's right in the middle. My complexion, light brown. So, I mean, like, expecting someone like that who doesn't have a complexion at all similar to a dark skinned person and not a complexion at all similar to a yellow bone to speak on either of their behalf is not reasonable. Because, I mean, like, of course, my experience is going to be very different because my skin tone isn't the same, you know? Now, with that in mind, it also is a big part of why I've always agreed that colorism doesn't exist because I can see, like I said in the past, with brown skinned women, we tan like crazy. So we basically can run the whole range. And I want to put a photo, a meme of this, because it talks about how you're brown skinned in the spring and the winter, you're dark skinned in the summer, and you're light skinned in the winter, not summer. Um, and that's normal for us, so when you understand that, you understand you're not treated differently depending on your skin tone. Heck, sometimes people don't even notice that your skin tone is different, and I frankly don't even notice when my skin tone is different because it's not that big of a deal unless I'm wearing makeup. But the point is of this video is that I feel like most of the time with colorism, it's either dark-skinned colorism crybabies using brown-skinned women's voices or some light-skinned platforms for their own gain and for their own benefit. And in some cases, people will think that brown-skinned women and light brown-skinned women are two-faced, or that we basically are the type who try to side with both sides at the same time. But the truth is this: if we have an experience as both sides, then of course we're going to see things through both sides. Another thing is that, a lot of the time I feel like people don't want to acknowledge brown-skinned women, and they love to put brown-skinned women in the dark-skinned category or claim they bleached. And a lot of the time, this is done by both sides. I remember there are plenty of times people will accuse women like Serena Williams, for example, of bleaching when she's a brown-skinned woman. I would say that Serena Williams is a light brown-skinned woman, in between light brown and brown-skinned, somewhere in there. She's not quite a brown-skinned woman either. She's actually lighter than a brown-skinned woman. You see, a brown-skinned woman is like the color of Gabrielle Union is a brown-skinned woman. what's her name? Angela Bassett is a brown-skinned woman. Those are brown-skinned women. Women that are usually darker than a paper bag. Serena Williams, when she's not tanned, is about the color of a paper bag. She's not, she might actually be slightly lighter, but you get what I'm saying. She's about there. She's right in between. But you heard so many channels, dark skin channels and light skin channels, come for her because none could really understand what it's really like to have her complexion. And as a person who has a very similar complexion to Serena Williams, I've always seen it like I understand what it's like. Like when you go out in the sun, people always think that that's your natural complexion. Then the next day, when you get lighter, people think you did something. But this is just a matter of genetics. Some people are good at tanning and some aren't. I mean, it's good to tan because if you don't, you burn and then you die. Basically, you get skin conditions that'll kill you, you know. So, I mean, like, to me, I just think that a lot of the time, nobody really understands the brown skinned woman. They don't even understand how her skin tone works. And in some cases, with light brown skinned women, sometimes people will relate to you on the light skin side only when you're at your lightest complexion. But then when you tan, it all basically is out the window. But then they get confused when you get lighter again. It's the same situation. Like they don't understand what it really is like to be brown skinned. They don't understand what it's like to be light brown skinned. Some brown skinned women don't even understand what it's like to be light brown skinned because they don't understand the whole getting that much lighter. People who run the whole gamut and actually can get light and dark depending on the season, that's a whole thing of itself, honestly. And I personally identify with that because I have a good ability to tan and I have a good ability to get lighter. And anyone can see this when I get nude because my body is a lot lighter than my face and that stays light. It's not light skinned though. It's like a little lighter than Rihanna. And I don't consider Rihanna light skinned. I consider her light brown. Like I said, people with the ability to look dark. But the point is of this video is just that I feel like in general, brown-skinned women are often misunderstood, and neither side can really understand what it really is like to be a brown-skinned woman or a light brown-skinned woman even. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.